We are live. Action, Sarah.
Good morning, everybody. I am Sara Finkelstein with Signature Advisory Group. I am a registered financial consultant and a registered Social Security analyst. And last week, I asked a question about how many people have life insurance with living benefits. And some people think that because they have terminal illness on their life insurance, that is living benefits. But living benefits refers to something totally different because most policies do have terminal illness protection, which accelerates the face value of your policy while you're alive if you do have a terminal illness. But when we talk about living benefits, we're talking about something totally different other than the terminal illness, which is, God forbid, you have a critical illness like a heart attack, cancer, or stroke. Can you utilize your policy to pay for care? Or if you have a chronic illness is something that is ongoing, like the thing that most of us don't want to talk about, we don't want to think about, but it's very important. Can you guess what it is? Long-term care. So if you have living benefits on your life insurance policy and you need long-term care benefits, you can access your policy to pay for long-term care. Another way that people pay for long-term care is either through a traditional long-term care insurance policy or by self-funding. Now, most of us, or I should say most Americans, are not in a position to self-insure themselves for long-term care because long-term care is very expensive. Anybody here know how expensive long-term care is? What does it cost?
It's about, I think it's close to $5,000 a year. About $4,000 or $5,000 a year.
And that's only going to give us like 3
Oh,
years.
Oh, you're talking about your long-term care insurance.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But I'm asking.
Yes, if somebody's in a nursing home, they're gonna pay at least $5,000 a month on average.
Yeah, for a nursing home, it could be $8,000, $10,000, depends where in the country. But what about if you just need an aide to come into your home to help you? Because most people want to stay at home as long as possible.
5 years ago, it was over $120 an hour.
For an aide?
Over $120 a day.
Right.
It's a lot.
So the going rate for having an aide come into your home is somewhere between $25 and $30 an hour.
Yes.
Well, just grandma at 4 days, Monday through Friday, for 4 hours a day was like an extra $2,000 on top of her $9,000
a month.
Yeah,
plus
we
Publix, and I'm like, Sarah, how are we going to pay for this?
Yeah, we had a client that died this past year who needed 24/7 care in home, and fortunately he had the money for it, but it was costing him over $60,000 a year.
And
just for the aid.
One of my clients actually is one of those people that goes into the home to provide the care. And her client needs round-the-clock care. So there's always somebody there with her. Do you know how much that person is paying for their care? I was surprised when she told me. $14,000 a month. So long-term care is very expensive, especially if you're paying for 100% of the cost out of your own pocket. And for those people who can afford to self-insure, that have many millions of dollars, do they really want to spend all of that money for care? Or would they rather leave that money behind to a legacy, their alma mater, a charity, their children, their grandchildren? So even for those people who can afford to self-insure, might not be the right thing. So getting back to living benefits, there's all different types of life insurance policies, even term policies that have living benefits. Most of them don't, but there's a select few that do. And typically when we're talking about policies that live for the rest of your life, those may have living benefits, but They're all different. So the biggest risk that many of us face in retirement is that potential need for the long-term care. And by having a policy with living benefits, so if you're that 1 out of 3 who never, ever, ever needs long-term care, then you haven't spent an extra premium to pay for the coverage, because traditional long-term care is a use it or lose it proposition. If you never need it, then you've spent those premiums and the insurance company gets to keep those premiums, kind of like homeowners insurance and auto insurance. It's the same kind of thing. How much time do I have?
5 minutes.
Okay. So 70% of people over the age of 65 will need long-term care. My mom, who was at the time, she was still living in New York. I was already relocated to Florida. I was in my early 40s, and I had to move her down to Florida because she needed care. But I could not quit working to take care of mom, which most people cannot do that. So I found her an assisted living community. She lived there for 6 years, then followed by 2 years in a nursing home, which is way above what they call the average long-term care claim. They used to say that the average long-term care claim was 3 years, but now they've changed it a little bit. It's 3 years for males, but 4 years for females. And for Paul's grandma, who just turned 101,
Kind of hard.
she exhausted her long-term care policy a few years ago. So it's now on the burden of certain family members to make sure that the shortfall in her expenses is taken care of. And fortunately for her, she has that. But not everybody has relatives that are in a position to do that. So just the other day, I was helping somebody with Medicare. And she was asking me, well, what happens if I need more care? Will my Medicare policy pay for it? And she was referencing long-term care. Well, let me ask you guys, does Medicare pay for long-term care?
Long-term, no.
No. But it does pay for some home health care, and it does pay for limited nursing home care for up to 100 days, but then you're on your own. So the long-term care costs are not getting any cheaper. Assisted living could run anywhere from $4,000 a month on the low side to $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month. And that is just base rent. That doesn't even include levels of care. So the more care an individual needs, the higher the level of care, the more they have to spend towards that.
Like I remember when I was in college, you can get a roommate. Are there people that get roommates for long-term care?
Yes?
So that's a good way that they could
That's
also
one way to cut the
chop
cost,
the cost too.
to save on
It's
expenses.
possible.
But if you've noticed, there's more and more assisted living communities popping up. Why? Because there's a need for it. Because people are living longer. We have an aging population. The older we get, the greater the chances are that we will need some long-term care help in our retirement years. And we don't have any children. So we can't even say, oh, my daughter, my son will take care of me. We don't even have that excuse. But even for people who do have children, is it really feasible for your son or daughter to quit their job, to leave their family behind? Because we know nowadays people are scattered all over the country. Is that feasible for them to quit their job at 40 or 50 to take care of mom or dad?
Not at all. Not at all. Right now, we have two people working in a family to try to keep their own head above water.
Exactly.
That's the sad.
I've heard all excuses. I've heard people say, oh, I'll stick my head in the oven if I need long-term care.
Yeah, right.
Or I'll shoot myself, or I'll jump off a cliff.
Yeah, right.
So what I would like to promote is become a star in your family and have the conversation with your relatives, your loved ones, with your children. If your children are in their 40s and 50s, it's a perfect time for them to start planning. And also have a conversation with your children how you want things to occur when you get to that age. Who's going to be the one who's going to be chipping in financially, and how is that going to happen? So be a star in your family and plan ahead.
We have time for 1 or 2 questions, maybe 3.
Sure. Any questions?
Is there a way to get a long-term care policy where when you do pass on, the beneficiary can receive the remaining portion?
Absolutely, absolutely. So that is beyond the traditional long-term care insurance policy, which answers the question of, well, what if I never use it? What if I never need it? It passes on to the beneficiaries. But that is a little bit more expensive than the traditional, because they know one way or another somebody's going to benefit from the policy one way or another. So yes.
The other thing that we did was Sara and I got a shared policy. So if one of us needs it and the other one doesn't, then they can take the benefit from the other one, which is a really good feature.
Yeah.
But I do want to. This is one question, but I want to give a testimonial to Sara. She helped me through my renewal period, going over some issues that we were having with our premiums. And she gave me some good advice, so we really
Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Okay, round of applause. Excellent. Take you offline.